Locked and loaded. Bang bang.
A year and a half ago, the Scholars Union of Eruditio welcomed a new student into their ranks. Unlike the other newcomers, this young girl named Beatrix seemed to possess profound knowledge and an astonishing talent for science. Before long, she stood head and shoulders above her peers, becoming one of the most promising scholars of the entire Scholars Union. Even Dr. Rooney, who was watching her quietly from afar, was impressed by her progress. He believed that, if she were to apply herself to her studies, Beatrix could one day become the greatest scientist Eruditio had ever seen. Yet becoming the best scientist was not something Beatrix placed any great importance in. She was born in Castle Gorge in the Monian Empire, to a family of merchants. For generations, her family had already been well established as a wealthy merchant family business in the empire. In order to maintain their huge trade network, Beatrix's parents often had little choice but to travel all around the land of Dawn on business, leaving the young Beatrix in the care of their loyal butler, Morgan. With the endowed means and liberty granted by her family, Beatrix spent her free-spirited childhood under Morgan's doting care. As such, she gained a penchant for mischief, and became a stubborn and often capricious individual. One day, Beatrix's parents returned from the far west, bringing along with them a range of advanced gadgets from Eruditio to give her. Beatrix had long grown tired of the mundane and uninteresting toys that surrounded her, and so she began to obsess over these novelties. They sparked within her a deep interest in technology. In the several years that followed, Morgan would regularly shuttle between Eruditio and Castle Gorge to bring Beatrix the latest inventions, which proved to be an extremely expensive endeavor. She digested many complex mechanical concepts and structures as if they were child's play. Before long, she had built her own laboratory within the castle grounds and seriously researched various technologies and weaponry. After her 16th birthday, Beatrix packed her bags and set off on the road to Eruditio, where she would continue her studies in earnest. She yearned to learn more about the most advanced of all technology in the land of Dawn, Leviathan technologies. And so, Beatrix embarked upon a year-long learning quest at Eruditio. The sheer speed at which she absorbed and mastered knowledge was lauded by all those around her. However, her obsession and stubbornness, driven by her hunger for knowledge, caused a good deal of distress for some union members. She began to grow bored of her dull and tedious curriculum. She needed a new approach to technology, something wild and unreserved. However, Dr. Rooney's doors and those of the Leviathan workshop remained firmly closed and shut off from her. In order to prove her technological prowess, she raised a wild and imaginative proposition during a debate: that the human body could be connected with communication terminals in order to establish a direct neurological connection with others. Such a sensitive topic bore a certain resemblance to the ideas spread by Laboratory 1718. Hence, before she had a chance to finish, Beatrix was interrupted by others in the Union and was kicked out of the discussion. She felt unfairly treated, and it left her seething with rage. Without bidding farewell, Beatrix departed Eruditio and returned to her laboratory back in Castle Gorge. With Morgan's help, she utilized her family's wealth and resources and began bringing her invention concepts to reality. About half a year or so had passed, and a competition known as Survival Nexus began to take Eruditio. Convenient terminals allowed participants to virtually control avatars solely with their brainwaves, immersing themselves in a virtual realm. The creator behind this technological marvel was none other than the student who had stormed out of Eruditio just half a year earlier, Beatrix. Thanks to the enormous prize money she'd offered to the competition victor, Eruditio scholars and citizens alike were queuing up to partake in Operation Dawnbreak. Beatrix watched on with glee as her prized project dominated over the conservative thinkers of the Scholars' Union. But then, disaster struck. The network of terminals she designed was maliciously hacked by the nefarious Laboratory 1718. Everyone neurologically connected into the system were now under their control, and Laboratory 1718 stole the Iron Guardians, a robot army that had been sealed underground, beneath the Eruditio Congress building. Those trapped within the terminals were linked to these robots. With their consciousness still immersed in the virtual battles and unaware of the real world, they led the robot army to wreak destruction upon the streets of Eruditio. The ultra-advanced technological capital was plundered and plunged into an unprecedented crisis. The scholars that remained joined forces with the Eruditio City Guard, under Dr. Rooney's command, and fell back to the Leviathan workshop. Against their previous passé, they knew that they had to defend the greatest fruits of the city's technological research. The robots continued to surge forth and things looked extremely bleak for the Leviathan workshop. But it was then, at the most crucial moment, that young and industrious Beatrix roared through the skies above in her airship, raining down tremendous and suppressing firepower. She would not stand to see those selfish power seekers exploit her own invention to destroy the city. With Beatrix's aid, the Eruditio City Guard managed to beat back the robot forces that had besieged the Leviathan workshop. Together they charged into the Eruditio Congress building to seize control of the robots and virtual network away from the perpetrator Octavius, the insane biochemist. And ultimately, peace was restored to Eruditio. Responsible for averting a crisis in Eruditio, Beatrix finally earned herself an audience with Dr. Rooney. Under his tutelage she managed to understand the true essence of technology. In the days that followed she gifted her Operation Dawnbreak terminal system to the Scholars' Union and eventually decided to remain at Eruditio to continue her studies. And this time, the doors to the Leviathan workshop, an embodiment of the peak of technology itself, were closed to Beatrix no more.